SDO Siargao, kalidad na edukasyon sa tanan panahon.
Maradyo na buntag Siargao, good morning to our subscribers, viewers, and listeners. Welcome to our day 4 session of this series of webinars on learning resource development process. We are all inspired and thankful to God for the success of the past 3 days events. Yesterday, we ended up with 1,169 subscribers and 12,900 views. On behalf of the Division LR team, let me say thank you so much for your full support. This morning, we are blessed because we have invited speakers who will discuss on activity sheets writing, self-learning materials, and learning activity sheets. To start off, let's give tribute to our country and tribute to God.
Soul of Christ, sanctify me. Body of Christ, save me. Water from the side of Christ, wash me. Passion of Christ, give me strength. Hear me, Jesus, hide me in thy wounds that I may never leave thy side. From all the evil that surrounds me, defend me. And when the call of death arrives, bid me come to thee, that I may praise thee with thy saints forever. Hear me, Jesus, hide me in thy wounds that I may never leave thy side. From all the evil that surrounds me, defend me. And when the call of death arrives, bid me come to thee, that I may praise thee with thy saints forever.
Dakilang lahi, nasa iyong tangi, pag-ibig ko, inang bayan. Isinumpa ko, o Pilipino, gagaling ang sugat ng iyong napahiran ko. Luha ay natayo. Muli ang karangalan mo. O ang pag-ibig ko'y sa'yo, inang bayan. Ikaw ang siyang dalangin ko sa Diyos kailan pa man. Kuminang ng iyong bituin at sumikat ng araw. Ang kalayaan mo'y sinisigaw. Ang bukas ay tanging sa'yo nagkalaan. Kay umanggi ang kulay mo, dugo't pawis sinalay mo, di ka na maapi. Ngayon at kailanman, pag-ibig ko'y sa'yo, inang bayan. Dakilang bayan, kapayapaan, iyo'y muli nang nakamtan. Tulad nung araw bago inagaw, ang kayamanan mo, ang iyong kalayaan. Nang pahiran ko, luha ng iyong puso ay natayo. Muli ang karangalan mo. O ang pag-ibig ko'y sa'yo, inang bayan. Ikaw ang siyang dalangin ko sa Diyos kailan pa man. Kuminang ng iyong bituin at sumikat ng araw. Ang kalayaan mo'y sinisigaw. Ang bukas ay tanging sa'yo nagkalaan. Kay umanggi ang kulay mo, dugo't pawis
Ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker this morning is the Education Program Supervisor in LRMS of Bayugan City Division. Please help me welcome Ms. Genevieve is Verceles.
Good morning, everyone. I am Genevieve Verceles of Bayugan City Division, Education Program Supervisor in charge of the Learning Resource Management section. Before I will deliver my topic today, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the Schools Division Superintendent of Siargao Division, Dr. Nilia Lumukso, for inviting me as one of the speakers to the webinar initiated by the LRMDS team. It's truly an honor for me to speak in front of thousands of viewers who are following and subscribing to this channel. And also, I would like to congratulate the LRMDS team for coming up the unique way of upscaling teachers' competence in developing quality learning resources. And to those who are viewing right now, good morning. For this session, we will be talking solely on activity sheets, and our objectives are the following: discuss the importance and its relevance to achievement, identify the important features of designing and applying activity sheets, introduce format and template of activity sheets because we do believe, my dear participants, that you are to submit output on this topic. I would like to start my topic with this statement from Thomas G. Swell that the teacher's fundamental task is to get students to engage in learning activities that are likely to result in achieving the intended learning outcomes. It is helpful to remember that what the student does is actually more important than what the teacher does. It only means, my dear participants, my fellow teachers, that when we give learning activity to all our learners, we need to see to it that it is intentional, it is meaningful, and it is useful to our learners. As you can see in the slide, it is said that instructional written materials play important roles as teachers, agents, in effective teaching. This is really very true. And one of the most commonly or frequently used materials or written materials are what we call the activity sheets and worksheets. According to study, worksheets have even become a driving force of curriculum in some countries. At ngayon po, alam natin na gumagawa din tayo, ginagamit din natin ang worksheet na ito. Alam po natin na lahat po ay nagsisimula ng mag-develop ng tinatawag na learning activity sheets. And in relation to the implementation of new normal for the incoming school year 2020-2021, sabi nga sa balita, August 24 doon po magsisimula ang klase. We already start developing learning activity sheets, and we need to ensure that the last that we will be developing, that the teachers will be developing, it should be based on the most essential learning competencies. I know we are all aware of it, and I just hope that you, my dear teachers, have already a copy of the most essential learning competencies para hindi po useless po ang ginagawa nating activity sheets. Dahil ito ay dapat nakabase sa tinatawag natin ang most essential learning competencies. At minsan tinatanong tayo, bakit kailangan pa natin gumawa ng activity sheets? Gaano ba yun kahalaga para sa mga estudyante at gaano ba yun kahalaga para sa ating guro? Tandaan po natin na ang activity sheets or ang worksheets, ang purpose po nito ay para magsusupport po sa study ng mga bata. Kasi minsan, ang mga activity sheets ay pinadadala po natin doon sa kanilang bahay. It also promotes active learning and raising interest in learning in all subject areas. Sabi nga natin kanina, pinag-uusapan na natin, ito ay nagre-reinforce sa ating mga kabataan sa pag-deliver po natin ng instruction. At sinasabi din natin na ang mga material na ito, dapat ito ay intentional, dapat ito ay meaningful, at dapat ito ay useful sa ating mga kabataan. Pag-uusapan naman po natin ngayon ang tinatawag nating worksheet and achievement. Worksheets can be useful in many ways in terms of academic achievement. For example, it supplements to textbooks because in textbooks, activity there are limited only. Hindi kasi pwedeng maraming activity sa bawat subject or sa bawat topic na nasa aklat. Minsan makikita natin doon sa aklat isang activity lang or dalawang activity lang. Kasi pag nilalamihan mo yon ng um, activity, masyado na makapal ang ating mga aklat. So, ang ginagawa ng teacher to enrich or to remediate our learners, we develop or we give activity sheets to our learners. Another thing also is that it can be used to add information for particular classes. A well-designed questions in worksheets can draw students' interest. Talagang totoo po talaga ito. Kasi dapat yung design ng worksheet natin, na-encourage na yung bata. For example, si kinder. Pero yung design ng worksheet mo, ginawa mo naman, ang font size, ang font style, masyadong maliit. At saka yung colored, ay yung mga pictures na ginagamit doon or illustrations na ginagamit doon ay hindi attractive para sa ating mga learners. So, hindi talaga yun nag-draw ng interest. So, in that way or in that sense, hindi naiinganyo ang bata na sumagot doon sa worksheet na ating ibinibigay. Nagkakaroon pa yun ng, or nagbibigay pa yun ng problema sa ating mga learner. Okay, so ano ba yung sinasabi natin na activity sheets? Ang activity sheets, yan, makikita po ninyo. So, ibig sabihin po na ito ay pwedeng isang papel lang, dalawang papel, kung saan doon po magsusulat ang bata ng kanilang mga answers sa exercises. Yun po. Learners can either place their answers or perform the specific activity. However, there are also instances in our own classroom or in our classes, we do not allow our learners to answer in the activity sheets that we give to them. Because, yun na nga, sinasabi natin, nagsisave din tayo para next year meron naman tayong mga gamit. For us in our division also, we already developed a learning activity sheets, but it is not consumable. Ibig sabihin po nun, ang mga bata ay magkakaroon ng activity notebook kung saan doon nila isusulat ang mga sagot sa na makikita sa activity sheets. Another thing also, ang activity sheets po ay nagsusupplement po sa textbook. So sinasabi po natin kanina na ang mga activity na nasa aklat ay limited lang po lamang. Merong isa, merong dalawa, hindi po pwedeng maraming activity sa bawat topic na makikita natin sa aklat. Kasi pag ganun ang mangyayari, tapos naka-mother tongue siya, masyado na yung kakapal. So gumagawa tayo ng tinatawag na activity sheets. Another thing also is that we also have a problem in terms of insufficiency of learners' materials or textbooks. May kakulangan talaga na tayo niyan. At kung hindi man kakulangan, wala talaga tayong aklat, lalong-lalo na sa grade 6 po natin. So as teachers, we need to ensure that there must be something that our learners will be using or will be utilizing. So this is the very reason why we need to develop learning activity sheets. And when we develop learning activity sheets, marami din tayong i-consider niyan. In developing learning activity sheets, consider this structure. I, M, and U. I means intent. Letter M means meaningful. And the letter U, it means useful. So, isa-isahin natin i-discuss ang mga ito. Una is intent. So, see to it that each learning activity should be aligned to the MELD. It must be clear to both you and your learners. Pangalawa naman ay yung sinasabi nating meaningful. It is equally important that each activity is meaningful and ensures learners' activity and advances. This is one of the reasons why we give activity sheets to our learners because it will reinforce, it will enhance to the learning development of our learners. Kaya nga, di ba, sinasabi noon, may mga activity sheets na ginagamit po natin na pang-remediate. May mga activity sheets na ginagamit natin to reinforce or for enhancement activity to our learners. They should enable learners to engage with and develop their skills, knowledge, and understandings in different ways. Meaningful activities engage students in active, constructive, intentional, authentic, and cooperative ways. Yung pangatlo naman ay useful. So ano ba yung useful? Paano natin masasabi na ang activity sheets na binigay natin sa bata ay useful? Kapag ito ay na-apply sa kanilang sarili, yan ang ating magiging sukatan na ang activity na ibinibigay mo ay useful sa party po ng ating mga kabataan dahil ito ay nagagamit nila sa ibang purpose or sa ibang konteksto. So, ibig lang po sabihin na sa pag-develop po natin ng activity sheets, it should be developmentally appropriate for our learners. So, when we talk of developmentally appropriate for our learners or DAP, yung sinasabi natin, consider natin ang age, i-consider po natin ang grade level, i-consider po natin ang level of understanding of our learners towards a specific topic. Aside from the structure IMU or your intent, meaningful, and useful, there are also other essentials that we need to consider in developing activity sheets. We need to follow the standards of a camera-ready activity which is given to us or as stated in our LRMDP. Number one is paper size. So, ang papel na gagamitin natin ay A4 size of bond paper. Huwag kayong gumawa ng activity sheets na ito ay nagkukonsume lang ng 1/2 sheet size of bond paper dahil hindi na talaga ito standard. Another thing also that you need to consider is the margin. Yung margin dapat ay 1 inch lahat sa bawat side ng bond paper. Pangatlo ay ang font style at ang font size. This font style and font size, meron talagang specific sa bawat grade level. For kindergarten, for grade 1, for grade 2, and for grade 4 to grade 12. May specific font style and font size. So, I'll give you one example. Every month of March, in our division, we conduct reading ability test or reading activity to our grade 1 learners. And then it happens that the font size or the font style used in our activity sheets is Arial. Iba ang pagkasulat sa Arial ng letrang A at iba naman doon sa required na century Gothic at saka alfabeto. So, ang nangyayari po noon, yung bata, instead na magbasa niya ang mga letra o yung mga words na pinabasa, ay hindi na po talaga nabasa ng bata kasi hindi niya ma-recognize ang letra niya on. So, tinanong ng teacher, what is the reason behind why the child was not able to read that word? It is because of the font style used in that particular activity or reading activity material. So, tandaan nyo pong maigi yan kung anong grade level kayo. Hindi ko na masyadong i-detail yan because there might be another speaker to discuss the technical specification standards in developing learning resources based on LRMDP. Another thing that you need to consider also is the text-to-art ratio. So, for the lower grade, kinder and grade 1, dapat si text ay 40% lang at yung art naman ay 60% na makikita sa kabuuan ng isang papel. At ang visuals and illustrations ay importante din. For example, gusto mong ipakita or ipahanap sa mga bata ang dapa sa Siargao na map. Pero, ang ibinigay mong map ay ang map ng Caraga Region kung saan makikita doon ang Siargao Island. Paano naman yun mahanap ng bata ang dapa kung masyado na yung maliit? Kasi ang kabuuan ng ipinakita mo ay ang map ng Caraga. So, in that case, dapat map lang ng Siargao ipapakita para madali makita ng bata yung ipinapahanap mong lugar. Another important also is that ito ang pinaka-issue talaga. In fact, in the evaluation of learning resources, Unang-una, ito talaga makikita natin ang tinatawag natin na intellectual property rights or ang copyright kasi printed material. So, copyright yan. Tandaan po natin sa paggawa po ng mga activity sheets o kung ano man ang ginagawa nyo ng mga learning resources, unang-unang iisipin nyo talaga yung copyright. Sinasabi ninyo, ma'am, yung activity namin ay nililift lang po namin. Galing naman yan sa mga DepEd-develop LM, sa mga libro lang din yan, ma'am, nagawa ng DepEd. Tandaan po ninyo, lahat ng mga DepEd-develop na mga aklat po natin, hindi po yun lahat ng content ay sa DepEd talaga. May nagmamaari po yun na tinatawag natin ay third-party content owner. So, i-explain ko lang saglit. Si DepEd at saka third-party content owner, may mga agreement sila na ipinapagamit ang content na yun sa aklat na yun lamang. Kung ito ay nililift o kinokopya ng teacher, transferring into other print material like modules, like activity sheets, hindi na yun po pwede. Magkakaroon na tayo ng mga complaints niyan. Kasi, ang agreement lamang ay hanggang doon lang sa learner's material or sa develop LM. So, very careful on that aspect, yung copyright. So, as much as possible, lahat ng mga ginagawa nyo activity sheets ay original. Sa pagkopya naman ng mga illustration, magpaguhit na lang kayo or kung meron kayong mga illustrator, pwede nyong ipagawa sa mga illustrators. At kung meron namang, kunyari, ipapaguhit ninyo sa labas, dapat magkakaroon din kayo ng agreement. Hindi natin alam, baka darating ang panahon, hihingi sila sa inyo ng bayad kasi yung mga illustrations nila ay makikita nila na mass produce na ito sa inyong division. So, iisipin nyo talaga mahigi yan. So, importante po ang mga standards na ito. As you can see in the slide, that is the template now of activity sheets or workbook based on the draft manual of LRMDP 2018. So, makikita natin yung pinakauna ay ang cover page. Cover page, and then yung title page. Susunod naman doon ang copyright page. Pagkatapos ng copyright page ay ang table of contents. Then, magkakaroon ng background information about the activity sheets or about the workbook. Then, meron na yung mga content or ito na yung mga activity sheets. Sa activity sheets naman, dapat makita ay ang name of learner, my grade level, at saka my section. And then, ang title ng activity. After sa title activity, merong learning competency with code. Ngayon po ay yung tinatawag natin na MELT. Pagkatapos niyan, magkakaroon ng directions or instructions. After the instructions, activity will follow. Procedures, questions. If there is a need to put rubrics, then for scoring, then you have to add it, if applicable only. At lalagyan natin ng closure. Pagkatapos ng closure ay meron namang enrichment activity, may summary, reference, and book cover. O baka magtanong kayo, ang haba naman ng activity sheets, sabi kanina, loose sheet of paper lang. Pwede isang papel, tatlong papel. So, magbibigay tayo ng halimbawa. This is an activity example of the one that I am giving to you, the template. This is an activity sheets of grade 1 English. So, yung pinakauna, yung tinatawag nating title page or cover page. Sa title page, pag open natin dito, wala tayong makikita na title page. Kasi yung title page, ibig sabihin po ng title page, ang makikita ay yung title lamang at wala na yung cover art. Pagkatapos noon, makikita ang copyright page. Here po ang copyright page. So, dyan po makikita ang development team. Sa copyright page, makikita ang development team. Pagkatapos niyan, yung tinatawag naman natin na table of contents. So, ayan. Ano ba yung table of contents? Ano ba yung napapaloob sa activity sheets? Mga titles na mga activity at saka yung mga pages ang makikita po dito. Okay. At saka, may background information ba? Ang activity na ito ay walang background information. So, lahat ng mga ito, kung makikita nyo sa inyong school, puro mga activity na lang yan. Kung titingnan nyo, isang papel lang talaga ito, then ibang activity na naman sa likod, isang papel lang din yan. Yan po ang sinasabi natin na loose sheet. Ang example natin dito, kapag ini-compile na natin, pinag-iisa natin ang lahat. For example, you want to make an activity sheets for the month of August, for one quarter, i-compile nyo lahat, ito talaga ang kalalabasan na inyong ginagawa. Lahat ng mga detalye na i-represent ko ay makikita sa inyong mga workbook kung kayo ay nagkukumpal. Pero kung hindi naman kayo nagkukumpal, isang activity sheets lang, for example, ito lang talaga ang gusto nyo makita, ang activity lang talaga na ito, then pwede din namang mangyari din yan. So, it's up to you. Ang template na naman pong ito ay gawa po ng ating region office. So makikita nyo dyan, merong learning area, merong quarter, at saka yung MELC, dapat nakasulat ang MELC, at saka yung code, kung meron mang code. At isulat din ang month. So yan ba ay para sa buwan ng Agosto or para sa buwan ng September. At saka isulat din ang weeks covered, kung week 1 ba yan or week 2 ba yan. And then sa content background, isulat niyo lang kahit kaunti lang na overview about the content of your activities. And then activity 1, activity 2, activity 3. So ibig sabihin, si activity 1, pwede yang sagutan ng mga bata on the day 1, activity 2 sa day 2, or ang activity 3 sa day 3. Or pwede rin ang activity 1 ay pang day, sa day 2 siya kasi ang day 1 ay magkakaroon po muna ng mga lektura or lecture. And then, yung activity 2, yun ay sasagutin nila sa pangatlong araw. And then, ang activity 3 ay sa pang-apat na araw kasi pag Friday na po ay i-retrieve na po yung mga activity sheets na ginagamit ng mga estudyante. So, hanggang 3 activity lamang po at i-ensure lang po natin na ang pagkasunod-sunod sa pagsulat ng activity ay dapat nagsisimula muna sa pinakasimple hanggang doon sa independent assessment or independent practice na ng mga bata. And at the end po, isulat ninyo ang concept learned at saka references kung meron mang references. So, sa referencing, dapat importante po, proper attribution. It is not just simply copying the URL from your browser, but kailangan din sino ang content owner, kailan iyo na-publish, ang inyong librarian ay makapag-share po ng maigi tungkol po dito sa referencing. So for your output on this topic, you will be using this template na gawa po ng ating region office. So good luck po sa inyong paggawa ng inyong activity sheets. So yun po ang kabuuan ng ating session ngayon tungkol sa activity sheets. Tandaan po natin yung sinasabi natin kanina, well-designed activity sheets have positive impacts on learners' learning achievement. And gusto ko lang din i-share din sa inyo yung aming tagline po dito sa aming division, yung ads po namin. Ibig sabihin, in developing learning resources, analyze, design, develop. Tapos, isi-share na yun sa iba. Yan po ang aming tagline. Okay? So, yan po ang ating reference from LRMDP Draft Manual on Page Designing. And thank you for listening. Till next. God bless, Siargao.
Thank you so much, Ma'am, for that very comprehensive discussion. We believe that our audience on air have learned a lot. To break the monotony, let us hear Wilma S. Gino.
There's a song that's inside of my soul. It's the one that I've tried to write over and over again. I'm awake in the infinite cold. but you sing to me over and over and over again. So I lay my head back down and I lift my hands and pray to be only yours. I pray to be only yours. I know now you're my only hope. Sing to me the song of the stars of your galaxy, dancing and laughing again. When it feels like my dreams are so far, sing to me of the plans that you have for me over again. So I lay my head back down and I lift my hands and pray to be only yours. I pray to be only yours. I know now you're my only hope. I give you my destiny. I'm giving you all of me. I want your symphony, singing in all that I am. At the top of my lungs, I'm giving it back. So I lay my head back down and I lift my hands and pray to be only yours. I pray to be only yours. I pray to be only yours. I know now you're my only hope.
Ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker this morning is the Education Program Supervisor in Science of our division. Please help me welcome Dr. Relyn D.Raza.
Good afternoon, my fellow educators of DepEd Siargao and to the advocates of learning resource materials development. In the previous sessions, Ms. Relyn discussed about module making or module writing, and she gave example of a module in Filipino, while Ms. Genevieve Verceles talked about making an activity sheet or worksheet. For my sessions, I will show an example of a module in Science 8 because this is in English medium. This module is entitled Forces. This has been approved by the central office. Also, I will show to you how to prepare a weekly learning activity sheet or weekly learning plan with activities as modified in our division. First, let me show to you the science module entitled Forces. This is for quarter 1. This is module 1 for quarter 1. This module was developed by the science teachers of Bislig City Division. So we have here the writers, Mr. Renan Bacolod and Miss Elma Cordova. The editors include Aureliano Masayon Jr. and Mrs. Nunita C. Patalenghog. For the reviewers, we have Mr. Bernabe Linog, Relyn D.Raza, Kevin Hope Selvania, Jonas F. Saldia, Delia C. Piuco, Jersem S. Lumintak, and Lydia F. Lavares. For the illustrator, we have Miss Rosamia El Pontillo. Layout evaluators, Celeste Faith R. Almanon and J.S. Ayap. For the management team, we have R.D. Francis Cesar Bringas, Dr. Isidro M. Biol Jr., Miss Maripas F. Magno, Dr. Josephine Chuni M. Obsiniaris, Superintendent Gregoria T. Su, Mr. J.S. Ayap, and Dr. Nonita C. Patalinghog. The module contains an introductory message for the facilitator and the learners as well. The module has the following parts and corresponding icons. One is what I need to know. This will give the learners an idea of the skills or competencies they are expected to learn in the module. Another is what I know. This part includes an activity that aims to check what the learners already know about the lesson to take. If they get all the answers correct, they may decide to skip this module. Another part is what's in. This is a brief drill or review to help the learners link the current lesson with the previous one. Next, what's new? In this portion, the new lesson will be introduced to the learners in the various ways, such as a story, a song, a poem, a problem opener, an activity, or a situation. Another part is what is it? This section provides a brief discussion of the lesson. This aims to help the learners discover and understand new concepts and skills. Next, what's more? This comprises activities for independent practice to solidify the learner's understanding and skills of the topic. They may check the answers to the exercises using the answer key at the end of the module. Next is what I have learned. This includes questions or blank sentence or paragraph to be filled in to process what the learners learned from the lesson. Another part is the so-called what I can do. This section provides an activity which will help the learners transfer their knowledge or skill into real-life situation or concerns. Another part is the assessment. This is a task which aims to evaluate the learner's level of mastery in achieving the learning competency. Another part is what we call as additional activities. In this portion, another activity will be given to the learners to enrich their knowledge or skill of the lesson learned. This also tends retention of the learned concepts. Finally, we have the answer key. This contains answers to all activities in the module. At the end of the module, you will find the references. This is a list of all sources used in developing this module. Also, the module contains some reminders, like use the module with care, do not put unnecessary mark or marks on any part of the module. Use a separate sheet of paper in answering the exercises. Another reminder, don't forget to answer what I know before moving on to the other activities included in the module. Next, read the instruction carefully before doing each task. Observe honesty and integrity in doing the task and checking your answers. Finish the task at hand before proceeding to the next. Then return this module to your teacher, facilitator, once you are through with it. If you encounter any difficulty in answering the task in this module, do not hesitate to consult your teacher or facilitator. Always bear in mind that you are not alone. Okay? So those are some of the reminders that may be included in the module. Let us now explore the parts of the Science 8 module entitled Forces. This is Module 1, for quarter 1. Okay, in the what I need to know part, you have there, this module was designed and written with you in mind. It is here to help you master forces. The scope of this module permits it to be used in many different learning situations. The language used recognizes the diverse vocabulary level of students. The lessons are arranged to follow the standard sequence of the course, but the order in which you read them can be changed to correspond with the textbook you are using. This module contains Lesson 1 about forces. After going through this module, you are expected to investigate the relationship between the amount of force applied and the mass of the objects to the amount of change in the object's motion. So that is the what I need to know part. Next, what I know. As I have said, this part includes an activity that aims to check what the learners already know. So this is a multiple type of test with 10 items or 10 questions. You have there the directions. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. So there are 10 items. Next, what's in? Okay. What's in, as I have said, this is a brief drill or review to help the learners link the current lesson with the previous one. So it is stated here, in grade 7, you learned displacement, velocity, and acceleration. You conducted activities wherein you understood and made visual representations of the motion of objects such as motion graphs. The ideas were arrived at by studying examples of uniform motion or objects moving in a straight line at constant speed. Then you were introduced to non-uniform motion where the objects cover unequal displacements at equal intervals of time. So there are figures given in what's in part. Next, you have there the what's new. What's new? You have there the new lesson is being introduced in this part. Using a story, a song, a poem, a problem opener, an activity, or a situation. So in here, you have there, most of the motions we come across in our daily life are caused primarily by force. To better understand the topic, perform the simple activities that follow. So the activity here is entitled Effects of Force on a Ball. You have there the directions. Examine the ball on top of the table. Choose the letter of your answer to the given conditions below. Okay, so that's for the what's new part. Next, for what is it? Okay, this provides now a brief description of the lesson. Okay. So you have here magnitude, direction, point of application, line of action are discussed in this portion here. Okay. So you also have there the contact forces, which include applied force, friction, normal force, tension are also discussed here. Non-contact forces like gravitational force, magnetic force are also discussed. Then balance forces, unbalanced forces, net or resultant forces are also discussed. That is in what is it part. For the what's more, so this already includes activities for independent practice to solidify the learner's understanding. So the activity in here, it's forces on object at rest. That's activity 1. Another activity given here, balance forces. And then another activity is entitled unbalanced forces. So for the what I have part, this includes questions or blank sentence or paragraph. to be filled in to process what the learners learned from the lesson. So you have there directions, fill in the blanks with correct word or words. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, so you have there. So for what I can do part, so this provides an activity which will help the learners transfer their new knowledge or skills into a real life situations. So you have there forces in opposite direction wherein a book is placed on the table. Then you have there another figure about forces in opposite direction. Okay. Persons playing tug of war. Another here, you have there two persons trying to pull a heavy cabinet in the same direction. Another two persons trying to pull the heavy cabinet in opposite directions. Okay. Assessment part contains 10 items, questions which are in multiple choice type of test. Then for the additional activities, you have there analyze and answer the problems below. Okay? So they are to write the answers on a separate sheet of paper. So example, you have there the wheelbarrow at rest containing stones has a force of 1,000 newtons. A man exerted a push of 500 newtons. A. Will he be able to move the wheelbarrow? B. Suppose another man tried to help him and exert a force of 500 newtons. Will they be able to move the wheelbarrow? Letter C. Another man saw their struggle in pushing the wheelbarrow. He tried to help them. They exerted a force of 400 newtons. Will the three of them move to the wheelbarrow? So the learners here will have to give their explanations. Okay, so we have here the answer K part, then the references. So those are the parts of the module in Science 8 entitled Forces. And now let us proceed to the next session entitled How to Prepare a Weekly Learning Activity Sheet or Weekly Learning Plan with Activities. So these are the things to be considered when preparing a weekly learning activity sheet or weekly learning plan with activities. So the template contains the following parts. You have there the learning area for the first column. Then second column is about the MEL. The third column is about the code. The fourth column is about the week covered. Then title of the activity. Then the procedure. And the last column is about the type of learning resources, if applicable. For the learning area, this is where you write the subject area, like Science 5 or Science 8. The MEL, this is where you write or encode the competency from the MEL. If you think the competency is too broad for your learners, you need to subtask or unpack the competency. The code, this is where you write the competency code. Then week covered, here you need to specify the week in which this lesson should be tackled by learners. So title of the activity should suit to the competency. Or in other words, the activities to be included should suit to the unpacked learning objectives. Procedure needs not to be written in this column because they are found in the activity sheets already. The activity can be taken from the learner's material, from the textbook, from the teaching guide, from the LR portal, or from any reliable or credible online source. Then if it is a teacher-made activity, it has to be quality assured by the school head and the school quality assurance team. In the session of Miss Genevieve Verceles, you discussed about how to make an activity sheet or a worksheet. So if the teacher will have to develop his or her own activity sheet or worksheet, he has to make sure that this worksheet or activity sheet is quality assured by the school head or the school quality assurance team. Type of learning resource. So the answers here can be any or combination but not limited to the following. So it can be a text, a video, or images like graphs, graphics, charts, tables, and photos, audio, animation, quizzes, other forms of assessments, laboratory activity or experiment, games, multimedia in a combination of format which may be interactive. Okay. So this one is developed by Ma'am Sandra Fernandez with some modifications from other education program supervisors. I have here a sample weekly learning activity sheet or weekly learning plan with activities. This is in Science 5. You have there Science 5. The milk here is describe the parts of the reproductive system and their function. This competency is very broad. That is why I unpacked this one into 3 specific objectives. What are these 3 specific objectives? Identify the parts of the male and female reproductive system. Next, describe how the male and female reproductive systems work. Another one is write some tips on how to take good care of your own reproductive organs. Later, we will discuss some tips on how to unpack a learning competency. For the code, this is Science 5, Living Things and Environment, second quarter, week 1, learning competency number 1. Okay, so week covered is of course week 1. Okay. May I shoot to you a sample weekly learning activity sheet or weekly learning plan with activities. This is in Science 5. The milk that I considered here is describe the parts of the reproductive system and their functions. This is a broad learning competency, and so we have to unpack this one. So the unpacked specific objectives we have here: identify the parts of the male and female reproductive systems. Next, describe how the male and female reproductive systems work. Then we have here, write some tips on how to take good care of your own reproductive organs. For the code, we have here is 5LT-2A-1, or this is Science 5, Living Things and Environment, Quarter 2, Week 1, Learning Competency number 1. So week covered is of course week 1. The activities that I have here, we have number 1, female reproductive system, organs and functions. This is a laboratory activity or experiment. Another activity, male reproductive system, organs and functions. Again, this is a laboratory activity or experiment. Then we have here, write advocacy tips on taking good care of your own reproductive organs. 10 tips on taking good care of your own reproductive organs. This is an assessment activity. If you notice, activity 1, entitled Female Reproductive Organs and Functions, and in activity 2, Male Reproductive System, Organs and Functions, these activities suit to a specific objective. Number 1, identify the parts of the male and female reproductive system. The second objective, which is about describe how the male and female reproductive systems work. This can be answered already in the 2 activities because there are guide questions to be answered or guide questions included in the activities or in the experiments. Then writing advocacy tips on taking good care of your own reproductive organs. This suit to learning objective number 3 because it says write some tips on how to take good care of your own reproductive organs. So you have there, after preparing your weekly LAS or weekly learning activity sheet or weekly learning plan with activities, you write there prepared by, reviewed by, and then noted by the school head. Reviewed by the master teacher or the department head in case for secondary schools. Okay. In the learning activity sheet, it is suggested not to include the components on procedure, materials, guide questions, and rubrics because these are found already in the activity sheets. Okay. Learning resources, as I've said, this can be any or a combination but not limited to text, video, images, audio, animation, quizzes, assessments, laboratory activities, etc. Now let us discuss how to unpack a learning competency or a learning target. A KUD framework can be used in unpacking a learning competency or a learning target. KUD means knowing, understanding, and doing. It is a framework that divides learning standards into things that students are expected to know, understand, and be able to do or achieve. In addition to, when you unpack a learning competency, make sure that the content and performance standards are not compromised. In other words, when you unpack a learning competency, make sure that the content and performance standards are being met. Going back to my example, let us find out if the content standards and the performance standards are being met and if the objectives satisfy the KUD framework. Okay, so you have there, the milk is describe the parts of the reproductive system and their functions. The unpacked competencies, you have there, identify the parts of the male and female reproductive system. Describe how the male and female reproductive systems work. Write some tips on how to take good care of your own reproductive organs. Okay, we have here a sample KUD framework or KUD chart. First column is about knowing. So this includes facts, vocabulary, definitions, dates, names, places, or information. So simple recalling or remembering about facts, dates, definitions, places, etc. For the understanding part, this is about the principles, generalizations, big ideas of the discipline. Okay? What are the cognitive dimensions that are included in the understanding part? You have there understanding, applying, analyzing, and evaluating. Do part or doing is about processes or skills that the learners should learn. Okay. So the cognitive dimension included in the doing part, in the do part, is creating. Okay? So doing is the highest part of learning. Okay? So the learners should progress in their learning from knowing, understanding to doing. It is not enough that the learners will know the facts, will remember the facts, will remember the place, but the learners should also understand the principles behind this, behind the concepts, behind the facts, okay, etc. Then, it is not enough that they understand the principles, the generalizations, the big ideas of the discipline, but they should be able to perform skills, perform processes, because this is the highest order thinking skill, the doing part. Okay? Thank you very much. If you have questions about developing a weekly learning activity sheet or weekly learning plan with activities, please feel free to use the link and post your questions there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mama, for that very comprehensive discussion. We believe that our audience and ear have learned a lot. Again, if you have queries or clarifications about the topics, we will provide a link in our Facebook account. For your workshop, we will be posting the instructions on what to do. You may submit your output online. A link for the submission of your output will be posted in the LRMDS Facebook account and in our group chat. Let's call it a day for now and happy working on your assignment. God bless us all and thank you for joining with us.
SDO Siargao, kalidad na edukasyon sa tanan panahon.